Hey, welcome to another empowering episode of Strive 365, your go-to source for conquering life's challenges and thriving no matter the odds. Whether you're seeking mental, physical, emotional, or spiritual growth, we're here to help guide you toward a better life. I'm your host, Justen Arnold, coming from the amazing Roc Vox studio here in Rochester, New York. And in today's episode, we're joined by Sara Garofalo. She's a prominent figure in holistic health and wellness, an intuitive health and life coach, an Ayurvedic counselor, healer, and author. Sara's own profound transformation through personal health challenges has positioned her as an inspiring guide in the journey towards holistic well-being. Hailing from Italy and now flourishing on California's Central Coast, she brings a unique blend of her cultural heritage and deep holistic knowledge to help people reconnect with their bodies through food, pleasure, and spirituality, encouraging them to embody their most authentic selves. In this episode, I'm sure we'll delve into the essence of holistic living, the impact role of intuition and healing, and how life's challenges can be transformative opportunities for growth. So let's warmly welcome Sara Garofalo to Strive 365. Thanks for coming on here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
For sure. So before I go a little Q&A, is there anything you want to share that I left off there, or anything else for people that have no idea who you are, and anything that I might not have mentioned?
I think you didn't mention that I am 100% Italian. I was born and raised in Italy. So that's a big part of my, I would say, Italian, roots and what I do, as well as the Ayurvedic studies. So I combine the two. That's what I would say.
Cool. Cool. Well, we're here in Western New York, and I don't know if you've ever been here. We have a large Italian population, so I'm sure we'll make sure we put that out there because there'll be a lot of people that are curious about that. And since they might be curious, what part of Italy are you from?
Near Milan.
Okay.
So the northern part. Yeah. And I was just in New York about a week ago. So funny.
Oh, where at? New York City?
Yes.
Okay. What were you doing there?
A VIP retreat with a client. So I was
nice.
Really following her. Yeah. For 3 days. Yeah.
Oh, did you like it there?
I really loved the energy. I felt like home compared to California. It's a very different energy, but I've
got friends out there. I've never been out there, but I can only imagine, what it's like. So anyways, So Sara, why don't you share what led you to embrace holistic living and how it's helped you conquer personal challenges in your life, how you got into this arena of sorts?
Yeah, absolutely. I think everything started when I started having body dysmorphia and eating disorder. I was 16 at that time. And, my family is very Western medicine. So you have a headache, you take a pill. And I've watched my mother suffering from poor health throughout all her life. And I think because of her, I became who I am today because she, couldn't have me. I was the miracle baby. She had cancer twice.
Oh, wow.
She's on medication. She has heart problems. Like her health is very, very, I'd say poor. But she's still standing strong. But what I'm saying is because of her, I promised myself I would find a different way and I wouldn't become this person. And I started studying and reading books at the age of 16 and 17 about spirituality. And then when I was 18, I started traveling because I needed to find a solution that was holistic to heal my, body dysmorphia and eating disorder and chronic dieting at the time. And then I found Ayurveda and spirituality, which that's what really made it for me.
So talk a little bit more about, your significant health issues. So like bulimia, leaky gut syndrome that's mentioned on your website. How do these experiences shape your approach to wellness and your resilience through it all?
I think for me, what I've learned throughout the years and, my research and expertise in trying things on myself, I realized that we have 3 planes. So we have the body, which, leaky gut and all those things. You need the right nutrition and you need to be able to have a strong metabolism to digest the food, but also the emotional and the spiritual will impact, those health issues, the leaky gut and all those things. So it's really working on the 3 planes because the question you need to ask yourself is, where is the root cause coming from? What is it?
I like that, because that is how I approach not just myself, but with my clients too. You talk about Western medicine, Western culture, and I use the words, we want to treat the symptoms, but not find the root cause in so many, because it seems easier. It's like we want to put a Band-Aid on a severed leg when we know that's not really the solution. And so I love that you're looking for the root causes. Is there something that spurred that in you, other than, you named your mother's health, or cancer twice, and your own health issues? Was it your curiosity? Was it growing up, your environment, being from Italy? Like, what was it?
What was it that sparked my curiosity?
To get to the root cause, instead of just applying, you went through, I know people that have gone through similar stuff, but they literally may not have gone to try to find the root causes and then make a career out of it.
Yeah, that's a very powerful question. Nobody has asked me that. So I think for me, it literally, my intuition, just so you know, is being one of the strongest tool that I've always had with me. So the intuition guided me to go to different places, and literally guided me to be like, look at your mother, right? When she had an emotional breakdown, or when she was upset, or when something happened, like I would see the emotions being somatized directly into the body through a stomachache, fainting, and all that. So I started really studying that, like by watching what was happening around me. And then I started reading books. And then my intuition was literally like, hey, it's not about the food right now. It's about the emotional, like your emotional and your mindset right now that's causing you to control food. Does that make sense? I started really digging.
Yeah, it makes sense to me, and I believe it will. But why don't we dive into that? You talk about the emotion. I think people might, in the spiritual, but how do I want to say this? I still believe people struggle with it. For example, I shared recently with somebody how their relationship with food, can affect their health. From their gut to even weight gain. Like, there's research that shows, even if you ate something, I don't like using the title unhealthy, but let's just, for lack of a better term right now, somebody has said this food item, whatever it might be, is unhealthy. So they beat themselves up, and it's been shown in research to actually affect your mind and body a lot more than if you just say you have that food item and have a healthy relationship. Like cheeseburger. I love cheeseburgers, but I don't sit here and I'm like, oh my God, I'm eating this unhealthy thing. I'm like, I love cheeseburgers. I don't eat them all the time. I have a good relationship with food, so I can have this and it's not going to have a negative effect. And it doesn't. But it shows in research that when we have a negative relationship, I ate all this crap. Now I got to go work out and punish myself even more, for example. So let's dive into the emotional and spiritual, because I from my experience, even having these conversations with people, one, don't want to have them. And two, maybe it's a little, they might believe it, or also I think there's still that people don't have the knowledge on these subjects maybe as much as we do, as far as the emotional and spiritual connection to that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you said something very important. It's a relationship, with the food. It's with your body, which you've got to eat every single day to maintain, a status quo in the body. Mm-hmm. And again, what you're referring to is the energies and the intentions behind when we're eating a cheeseburger or a chocolate or a piece of treat, a treat. Like, if you start negatively charging, that food, like, it's going to make me fat, or, oh my God, I feel so guilty. That will impact the digestive system. Therefore, you're not going to literally metabolize what you just ate, or you will produce more toxicity into the body because you've had those thoughts.
I love I love how you use negatively charging, because you look at it as everything is energy. So we can positively charge. I love how you use that phrase. I don't know if I've heard it quite used that way. So it's something I'm going to start using. So 16 is about where you started exploring, getting curious. You were going through your health, your mom's health. When was like the pivotal moment? You have those before and after pictures. When was it like you got it and this is like your lifestyle now? Like, did it take a few years?
Yeah, it took me about 2 to 3 years to get out of it. But after that, so that was my first, I would say, I call it a food spiritual awakening, my first aha moment. But then I became super healthy, right? I started living this lifestyle, and crazy enough, I became vegan.
Are you vegan married. Still?
No.
Okay. We'll get into that more later, but yeah.
We'll get into I got married. I had 2 kids. Yeah. But what happened, and I'm going to say it now, through this crazy extreme healthy journey, that's when I started having leaky gut syndrome. That's when my health took a toll into my gut, like specifically not eating disorder. Like I wasn't feeling guilty. I was done with all that, with body dysmorphia, but the leaky gut syndrome like started to be so, bad that I went to a doctor, because he was like, you're going to develop an autoimmune disorder if you don't heal this and you're not you need to start eating differently for your body type, which I knew what he meant.
What did he mean?
I started eating more animal protein, because my body really does well with the animal protein, because I also have a genetic anemia and I can't take supplements. Like it's either my body deteriorates by following an ethical protocol, or I need to realize that my human body needs this and I can still live a healthy, organic, happy lifestyle.
Man, I am so glad you said this, because nothing against veganism. I went through a vegan stage, and I it sounds very similar. I didn't get diagnosed with leaky gut syndrome, but when I had my appendix taken out in 2010, like everything changed. Everything changed for me. And then so I played around with all these things, and you read one thing, this is good for it, and then I realized after my own experience, and I just wanted to say thank you for saying that, because it just proves that everybody has their own unique story or unique experience and has to have their unique approach. So to put a blanket statement where maybe all women should be vegan or all men or whatever, or vegan's the way to go, as people get on that, or carnivore is the way to go. It just shows that you went that route and it actually caused more issues, and you realize through your genetic anemia, and you can't take supplements, you need animal protein. Yeah. So how did that feel once you started eating animal protein in your life and started getting more of, I don't know, your balanced version, or whatever words you want to use there?
Oh my God, my life started to change because I was so pale. People were like, are you okay? And so I started, my skin got colored again. And then I felt like I could work out. So before, during my veganism, I couldn't even hike. I was just like going from one place to another. I was very fatigued. So I was able to it's like energized. I was like, oh my God, I'm fuller. My body is receiving more energy. I want to work out. I want to take my kids out, and run with them on the beach.
Man.
I'm alive. That's how I felt.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy to hear this and hear your story. And I'm so glad we connected, because there's so many people that need to hear this. It's simple, but it's not, right? Like, you started just eating more meat. And you can go into more of what your daily diet looks like, because I'm curious, and I'm sure others are, but it just showed how it affected, it sounds like, every part of your life, even the way you parent, the way you are with your partner, in life, in workouts, and same, I played around. I mean, I listened to the doctors. They said eat yogurt. Dairy's made me worse. Found out I don't have the enzymes to break down sugar, dairy. I mainly eat more of a meat and like a protein and fat diet, and same thing, energy. skin. I noticed my skin too, the same thing.
Nice.
So that I'm so glad you brought that up as a woman to share that. So thank you. And I'm glad you're doing better.
Absolutely. And I think for me, what really clicked when I started getting really sick is for a woman. And if you have an audience, if a woman is listening, like my body stopped having my menstrual cycle for 3 months. And that's when I knew. I was like, okay, we're going downhill right now. This is not normal. Like my body's not functioning. It's like stopping. So I started reintroducing everything slowly. And that's, I would say it was the best gift to be alive.
Yeah. Wow. It shows like how it affects your hormones, which most people should know. But when your hormones are off and you're not having a menstrual cycle for 3 months, that's a real problem, which is going to affect your mood, your energy, your sleep, your metabolism. And I'm sure you know more. Like, so.
And what you said, the mood, I was really depressed. But once I started feeling energized, because I really am someone who loves to go outdoor and like be around, I love adventure. I love playing. I started getting out of that depression naturally, holistically. Since
we're here, I mean, we're going to skip ahead to, I was going to wait till later, but since you opened up to this is really cool. So, you talked about where you were and then where you're at. So are these some of the signs? What are some of the signs people can look for maybe? I mean, it's not all in all dual. It's like, oh, you're depressed, must be your diet's off, obviously. But, you mentioned some things. It maybe instead of, getting medicated or going to the doctor or thinking something is seriously wrong, what are some signs maybe of something people that maybe it's leaky gut or maybe it's something with their nutrition or their environment? Share away with that as far as what some signs and symptoms maybe people can start at least being curious about and looking at that it might be something similar.
Yeah, I would say most of the times you feel like you're bloated. And then we see either highly, constipation, or it could go the other route, like runny bowel movements, gas, bloating. Then you're having, could be hair loss. It could be poor skin pigmentation. It could be fatigue. It could be your mood, like you're not stable. Either you're not stable, so what we call moody. You go from anxiety to depression, or you're kind of in a depressive state because, again, the food affects the mood. So if you're feeling like not good in your body, that affects your mood. And you become, super sad all the time. But primarily, I would say with most of my clients, they don't really understand because they're so used to the pain. They're so used to the symptoms. And another thing that people are starting to notice is inflammation, right? So joint pain, inflammation in a specific part of the body. So they don't notice it until we remove. And I would say, I tell them, start removing gluten and dairy and see how that affects you when you reintroduce them. You don't need lab tests, just do that. And then they're like, oh my God, I feel like another person, right?
Yeah. I like that you don't need that. Now, tests are something I do regularly. Like I go to my doctor and he says, come back every 2 years, but I go back and at least get blood work done. Cause I noticed some things were off. For me, it was like B vitamins and I realized it wasn't the absorption, but I'm with you as far as, the symptoms as far as looking for these different things. And, how many people you mentioned it. I'm familiar with that with people I work with. They're so used to the discomfort and it's almost like they're comfortable in their discomfort.
Yeah.
I got a chapter in my book that's coming out next month. Shameless plug for me, but no, seriously, that I have a chapter called Comfort Through Discomfort and how to get a more comfortable life, how sometimes we have to do the uncomfortable things. I talk about some fun stuff like cold plunging and stuff, but also from a nutritional part, working out, for example, is uncomfortable, but brings endorphins, eating quality foods and going maybe through an uncomfortable process of like, did you go through that process? I did a little bit when I was changing more, but it didn't take long. Did you go through an uncomfortable process when you were reintroducing more meat and changing up your diet, or was it? Did you automatically day one see change?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's how I started creating my book with all those recipes. When I decided, look, I need to change up a few things. here. I need to start eating differently. And, and I also need to make it so pleasurable for my taste buds, because as an Italian, like, I really love food. So that's when I started creating those recipes. But at the same time, I tell people sometimes the symptoms get worse before they get better, because your body is like cleansing, and it takes about 2 to 3 weeks, even a week or two, actually. It depends on the severity. And then you're kind of out of that dark place. But all of those toxins like need to come out. And then the body regulates itself.
Got it. Yeah. That's what I would, that's what I've noticed too. And so you said earlier about removing, dairy, gluten, for example. And so say somebody does that after listening to this podcast, you would say give it 3 to 4 weeks. Yeah, okay. Exactly. Like it's really, it's like veganism. Like, I don't like labels, but it's like, why don't you try it? Why don't you try to remove it? Just to give your body a break. I know that I love meat. My body does really well. But if I have a client that, comes in and it's like, I can see that they have too much meat in their diet, like 3 meals a day, every single day. That's a lot for the body. And maybe their unique body type needs to lessen that quantity in their daily nutrition intake. So it's the same thing. Why don't we give each other, like our body, a break, especially from gluten and dairy? I mean, especially talking to this functional doctor who helped me to do my blood work. He was like, well, those are the most, I would say, inflammatory food items. I would even say American dairy. I went to Canada. Every time I go to Canada, I'll have ice cream and dairy and I'll be fine. It's so interesting. And I normally won't eat those because they affect me. It's so interesting.
Absolutely. And so I've done this protocol for 3 straight years because that's what my body needed. And then now I go to Italy and I eat dairy and gluten and I'm fine. Like, I healed it so much that even if I drink wine or have dairy or gluten once in a while, like, my body is completely normal. It's like the best day of my life to just eat it and not feel bloated. Like, my body's metabolizing everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I want to go to Italy so bad. I watched a documentary. It was about, people that are like living over 100 or pretty healthy lives. And they showed some Italian cities in there and like eating things that we'd eat in America, but it's made how fresh it is. Even the dough, a lot of it is how it has like good bacteria in it because everything's from scratch and, right from like farm to table almost. And it's so fascinating. So since we're talking about Italy and now I'm really hungry, let's talk about your Italian background. How has it really influenced maybe a little bit from your experience in California, your Italian background, as far as influence your approach to where you're at with your life, your health, your career, and how you coach others?
Well, it is a big part of who I am because the Italian lifestyle, it's very, like, I would say, about moderation. So that's what really taught me to live a balanced lifestyle. And if you look at the American lifestyle, it's very extreme. Like, it's either I work out 3 times, a day, 7 days a week, or I'm like a couch potato. And I'm like, can we find a little bit like, balance here?
Yeah, it's even like real quick, like anything. I so agree with you, American. In fact, I was there for a while and I'm like, man, we're so extreme. It's like cold plunging. I just mentioned it.
Yeah.
Okay, 3 to 5 minutes at 49 degrees is science-based. Let's go sub-zero freezing for an hour. Like, why do we got to go so extreme? Like 11 minutes a week, I think, is the research. That's America.
That's America. It's like, can we have just a little bit of everything? And then America puts this guilt, like, oh, now you have those treats, like this brownie with, ice cream on top and like confetti, and then you need to diet for like.
Well, you got to add a donut, and then you got to put it in a waffle, and then you got to drizzle all the syrups, caramel, chocolate, and then call it, dessert after you just ate a meal.
Exactly. So can you just have a brownie and just enjoy that? So Italian lifestyle really, it's like minimalism. So if you look at, it's an art and you use high quality ingredients, a few ingredients to make this meal because you don't want to overwhelm the palate. And then you have if you have a chocolate, croissant, then you have a chocolate croissant. You don't put like a donut in between, in the middle.
Why not, man? Why not? No.
It's like one thing at
So
a time.
good.
It allows you to taste the food, find the pleasure of like simple things. And I think that's what we're missing these days.
And that's Italian lifestyle, like taking your time, being more mindful is a word I use. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, mindful, sitting down at meals time, enjoy the time. It's for us, it's the meal is also the relationship with others. It really goes together. Like take the time to go and have lunch with your family, your best friend, your coworker, and be there.
I love it.
Not eating a burrito in the car while you're going.
It's something I coach, but it's something I still struggle with, and so in all transparency, I grew up in a farm. Well, I didn't grow up on a farm, essentially. I spent my summer months, but I grew up in that farm life type, quick meal, get back on the farm. And then in my first job when I was 16, I started working in restaurants. You got to eat quick, get back to work. And I worked through restaurants all the way through college until about 26 years old. So about 10 years and everything else. And so it's taken a long time and it's still work in progress. It's taken my kids to actually teach me as I watch them eat and they're enjoying it. And you're right. No matter what you're eating, pick your favorite food right now and slow it down and be present. And it might feel weird if you've never done this, but I'll tell you this, foods that you don't always eat are some of your favorite foods. And you're just like present on that. Like, it just tastes better when you're more mindful and more connected to the food. So again, yes, we will guide you most likely to things that will put the health title on it, but even just a burger, or if you like wings or that chocolate cake, or that just a donut, and you just sit there mindfully eat it. And I know we're busy, but maybe you can't do it for every meal, but try once a day. And that's my encouragement because I've noticed a difference. So I just wanted a little testimony, and it's still something I struggle with. So I just wanted to share that little bit. That's real. Anything else you want to share on your Italian background as it pertains to Striving 365, or how it's guided you in your career, the people you help?
Well, I really utilize the Italian fire when I coach, by the way, because it's like the tough love, like it's soft, but also tough, but it's what people need in order to be like, I'm not enabling a behavior. And also you have a fire that you need to discover within yourself that you've never attuned to. So a lot of the times I notice this with Americans, by the way, like they're so afraid of confrontation. And one thing that I teach is like, what about healthy anger? Like talk to me in a way that you feel safe. And I'm not intimidated, because Italians, as you know, are very fiery, right? We're famous for like screaming at each other and then hugging each other.
Yeah, I think I've seen some memes. I've seen some memes.
So a lot of my clients were like, oh, thank you so much for allowing me to express my emotions, feeling comfortable, expressing my anger, and like you feeling okay with it. Because at the same time, they need to find their fire. I'm fire. So it's like, let's be okay with this energy, I
like that. Afraid of confrontation, healthy anger. So give me some examples of, for example, the tough love. Give me an example of your tough love to ignite the fire within people. And then give me an example of healthy anger, if you can.
Yeah,
we could even role play if you want to.
Tough love is like, and all my clients and people in my field, they know that I'm very direct. So it's like they come to me and they're like, oh my God, I couldn't do this exercise because, my cat needed to eat, whatever they say. And I'm like, tough love.
Back off, Sarah.
And I'm like, look, this is an excuse. Like, if you do it, you do it. If not, like, you're not going to come to the next session. Like, it's the tough love is like, I love you. I want you to succeed. But you need to stop. And I tell them, like, don't, make excuse with me. Like, tell me, like, I was so lazy that I wasn't able to do that. But
be honest with you within being honest with themselves. Yeah, exactly.
So the more they're honest at first with me, they're going to start to like stop lying to themselves.
I like it. So healthy anger. Let's have a healthy anger fight right now. No, give me an example of that.
Oh, I do workshops with that. It's pretty fun.
No, I agree. Man, that's good for any relationship too, and in anything. Like we talked about food, having that healthy relationship, and how having it. I think people think that no fights happen, but if no fights, something's building up. Because there's always going to be some friction, especially when you're at least me, I'm very passionate about things. And so I know that if I'm not expressing it, it will build and build and build until I burst. So I've learned by age 42 now that I can't burst. So I need to just express my feelings and emotion and do my best not to attach feelings and emotion to whatever they say back to me, that outcome, which is still a challenge. But a healthy conversation and anger, because we're going to get angry. We're going to have a healthy conversation. I think it's good enough to love the other person too. If you care about this relationship, that, I'll add this, even if they don't do it in a healthy way, that you have to be healthy as far as receiving it. And then going back to that conversation instead of, taking that person from that moment where they might've exploded on you. At least that's how I look at it as.
Absolutely. Yeah. So allowing them to express, and we have sometimes I really want for them to get heated up, because it's like, it's not about me. I'm not taking anything personal, but they need to feel comfortable, with themselves. And that's let's healing.
That really is. And it's all part of the process, of healing. Well, let's get into Ayurveda. Did I say that right?
Ayurveda, yes.
Ayurveda. There's probably people that heard that in the beginning and have no idea what that is. So what is it? How did discovering it transform the way you deal with, your life adversities? Maybe even some common misconceptions for people that do know about it, have about it. So let's dive into this now.
Okay. So Ayurveda is literally the science of life. Veda is science, Ayur is life. So it's the most, I would say, ancient holistic medical system designed to help a person heal and holistically, but also it believes in the mind, body, and soul connection. So what affects the body affects the mind and the soul, and vice versa. We're all interconnected here. And according to Ayurveda, there are three main energies in the world. What we call Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. So the energy of wind, fire, and earth. And each person is a combination of predominantly two energies. That's
two out of those three?
Yeah, we all have three, but that's what we see two that are coming, up really strongly in the physical and the emotional traits.
Okay.
And that's when you understand your metabolism, your unique body type, your nutrition, the meal plan and all of that are directly specific to you. And also it's kind of like you understand a lot more about yourself, but also how to reverse health issues. When I started, I was like, it blew my mind because now I can start to reverse a lot of health issues because I know how to adjust my diet and how to adjust the lifestyle habits in order to balance those energies.
Okay. So
it's a lot.
Excuse me. Sorry. Still got this lingering cough. So explain wind, fire, and earth a little more. You said, most of you have two out of the three. So what two do you have? What two are your predominant two?
Yeah. So if you look at me, I am a Pitta Vata, which means like Pitta's fire people, fire personalities. They're usually like fair skin, blonde, blue eyes, or they have some kind of these traits, in them.
So I might be fire.
You have Pitta, yes. Or red hair, Then there's medium frame builds, like they're very athletic. And they're very much leaders, entrepreneurs.
Okay. Man, I am organized. Like fire all the way, right?
Fire all the way, passion. If you think about passion, that's the Pitta. They can also, in their traits, become very judgmental or one-sided or jealous. And they are prone to acidity or, having ulcers, and things related to the inflammation. The Vata, which is the wind, I have wind too, it's an energy that it's like if you look at my body type, not right now, but through pictures, it's also lean. So Vata people are very, what we call the naturally skinny ones. Their body frame is very light, like, oh, you're light as a feather, you're light as a bird. They're very creative. So they're visionary. They're the visionary. But they tend to like also live in the clouds. Like they're so creative.
This might be me too.
So we have, like I said, we just have maybe predominantly two energies right now. Like I have it, you're the same person, but you kind of swing, and you can be very creative, but then you also need grounding and you need to do things. Like a Pitta will do it. The visionary is the Vata, right? But they are more prone to anxiety, panic attacks, constipation. So all those things. And then we have the earth, which I have very little of earth. So that's my primarily like focus is grounding every single day. But the earth are those people who are like have a heavier bone frame, right? Like Beyonce, curvier, thick hair, rounded, I'll say nose, rounded, like face. I'm not saying they're fat. They are just heavier built.
More curvaceous. Is that a word? Is that how you'd describe them?
What did you say?
Like more curvaceous, more curves to the body.
Which they have such a beautiful body and such a beautiful personality because they're the most compassionate people among the three energies. Like they're like the oak tree. They're very motherly or fatherly, right? They're very grounding. Their energy for a Vata or a Pitta. Like I love my friends or a partner who is very grounding because I need that, right? But they tend to be, I would say, like more attached to things and routine, and or they can become lazy when imbalanced or depressed. So we see the pros and the cons. So when you start to understand who you are, then you can build a lifestyle around your body type. You can build your nutrition plan, your everything around who you are, because now you know what you're more prone to and what you need to adjust.
Okay. Could I could say you said you're fire and wind. Could you get along well with the fire and wind? Is there anything like that in all this, or? Absolutely.
So in relationship with among people, like I love having friends that are fire and wind because we get along in the entrepreneur world. We're like, oh my God, let's push each other into creating this and let's do this, right? We really help each other in that, but I couldn't be, and I got burnt many times in a relationship with that person, a loving relationship. I know that I need fire because fire needs to be met with fire, but also I need earth. So I need to have kind of like a Pitta Kapha, what we call a fire earth next to me in a loving relationship.
So how can you, when you're working with people, can you navigate which ones they are? And does this help in your coaching?
Yeah, absolutely. I screen them right away. And then I base, the whole program around their unique body type and also, personal traits. Because if I'm dealing with fire, I need to do things differently than if I'm dealing with earth, with those people.
Give me an example. If you're dealing with somebody with fire, how would you approach that?
Yeah, a fire is a busy working woman, like CEO, business owner. And so they will get shit done. So I can give them a lot of tasks, but they also want results. They want me to give them a detailed.
This is fascinating.
Always details on how to achieve the next level, the meal planning, things like that. But if I'm dealing with like a Kapha, which is an Vata too, but a Kapha is more sensitive and more like about emotions. So for them, it's all about making them feel good. It's about building a connection. It's about making them feel safe with me, right? It's about to be their cheerleaders. And a Vata needs a lot of grounding. Yeah.
Okay, so for somebody that's listening to this right now and like, man, I am so lost. I'm not. I get it. But what, bring them back in as far as, this is, I believe this is going, at least here on the East Coast, this is going to be a lot of new information. So how can we guide people to want to see that this is a real thing and get them to be more curious about understanding this more so it can lead to a better life?
The best way to describe this for people who are not familiar with this is you have a unique body type. And therefore you have a unique metabolism. That's why one diet can't fit all. And you have a specific personal traits of who you're born with. Yeah. What you're born with, who you're born with. Therefore, you can, by the way, you can take a quiz. It's on my website.
Oh, sweet. I'll do that after this.
Right. Yeah. So I can send you the link. It's on my website. You screen.
And we'll put that in the show notes for sure. So make sure you get that to me. That would be cool.
Yeah. And my book talks about that. So I have a chapter all about Vata, Pitta, Kapha and what they need in terms of their emotional needs, their physical needs, and their nutritional needs.
So since you brought it up, let's talk about your book now. What's the title of it? What's it about? Where can people get it? That kind of stuff.
Mangia, which means eat in Italian, is the title. It's a blend between Italian and Ayurveda. There are chapters that are going to guide you through building a healthy, holistic lifestyle and also introduce you to Ayurveda.
That's awesome.
And then there are more than 100 recipes for mind, body, and soul that are gluten-free and dairy-free, but you have lasagna, you have panna cotta, you have tiramisu.
I love lasagna.
Like
this is
for
awesome.
People to understand that you need to keep the pleasure into your life to feed that soul.
Amen.
That comfort food.
Amen. Yeah, food is fun. I love food. I get a lot of people that don't believe that I love food and I love to eat, and so I have found creative. But I'm definitely gonna
eat. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. But then also designed to help you heal the gut. And like I said, I've done that for 3 years and now I'm completely, healed. So you can find it on Amazon or on manjacookbook.com. If you just type it, and it's Manja by Sara Garofalo.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll make sure we put that in there as well. And she, we found each other on Instagram through a mutual friend who's actually been on this podcast, and it's all around health. And Say Luz was Daniel, who was on here in the beginning when we started this earlier this year. But anyway, so, we got a few more minutes here, but I'm curious how, you've been through some challenges, So, entrepreneur here, healer, what are, explain your life and maybe some of the obstacles in it and how you've been able to overcome it and use the things that you've learned and how they may help others that are listening.
Oh God, my life, I've gone through toxic diet cycle, body dysmorphia. So a lot with my body image and health issues. I've gone through all of that. And I also have gone through emotional abuse. And that's the last part of my journey, and a divorce. When I was 26 with 2 kids under 3, it was a whole nightmare in the middle of a pandemic. So I've gone through quite a lot. And at the same time, that's my message. You need to start healing and aligning your mind, body, and soul, because in order for me to get out and reprogram my brain after the emotional abuse, I needed a body that was also strong. So I needed the structure of the body to keep me going and taking care of my kids. I also needed to change my mindset because we are so negatively reprogrammed by negative things around the world, what we hear, and everything needs to be positively reprogrammed. And then you need to do shadow work, inner work, to understand what have you allowed to happen. Why maybe you don't have boundaries. So that's your area that you need to focus on. So I needed to focus on that spiritual aspect to completely birth the person I am today.
Man, I'm sorry that you went through all that, but it also, from what I hear in your voice, is, you know, your courage and your bravery, and you didn't say it, but I wonder if it's to be an example for your kids.
Absolutely. That's what, for me, flipped the switch. I was like, my kids are not going to see this reality in the relationship I was in, but also as a woman. They're not going to grow up thinking that a woman is this way. I wanted to give them the example of what a strong woman could be for both of my son and my daughter. So yeah, I do everything because I want a better life for them.
Man. So yeah, I mean, so those are listening, you know, mother, entrepreneur, been through a divorce, her health issues. I mean, it's different than mine, but it's similar in that we've used our challenges, our pain, our adversity as how do we overcome it, and teaching others how to do it as well. And so I didn't know. I mean, I looked at your website and read some things, but I knew there was other things, and that's incredible. Anything else you want to share for those that are listening that may have been through something similar, or they could relate, or just that could help somebody that's maybe going through similar challenges currently?
All I can
You
say
talked about
is,
inner work, for example. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. All I can say is miracle exists. Even if you had really deep traumas in your life, if you do allow yourself to be open to subconscious reprogramming or healing or different modalities that can help you really shift, because I believe in quantum healing. So you shift within and you shift the outer reality. So I was able to create abundance in my life in so many ways, right? From being broken, then everything is possible. And you just need to shift everything within and let go of old limiting beliefs and traumas.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So what is your, spiritual, you talk about shadow work, spiritual work. What does that look like? I mean, is it a daily practice, meditation? What is that like?
So the one I do for myself or the one I perform that I help clients?
Let's talk about both.
What I do for myself, yes, I have, every day I meditate. I also talk to my spirit guides, and really channel information. I do my cleansing because I work with a lot of energy. So there is a whole routine, a spiritual hygiene to connect with me and spirit every day. Otherwise, I'm not grounded in, my work and as a mother. When I'm going through something, I take the time to process my feelings and also go and unroot those limiting beliefs. I really dig deep. And then that's what I use for my clients is subconscious reprogramming, which is a technique that saved my life. That's why I got certified in it. And everything is stored in the subconscious mind.
Amen. Yeah.
And then I channel, move energy.
So hard. I can relate. Sorry. It's so hard. And I feel like correct me if I'm wrong. For me, it feels like it's a lifelong journey, and there's layers and levels, as I like to put it. Yeah. What is some of the subconscious? Go ahead. Sorry. This is just fascinating. I wish we had another hour, but we got to wrap it up. But what is some of the subconscious reprogramming? Like, go into some that you do or utilize for your clients.
Well, it is that whole technique, that I take people, through just to access the subconscious, which is, to put it into simple words, the body stores everything. So the more we connect with the body, then we go deeper into what's stored in there. And you can shift everything from your relationship, like to finding the love of your life, more money, or heal pain and physical issues that are coming from a spiritual root cause.
Could you share maybe an inspiring story of somebody you coached, a client of sorts, through something significant, a challenge of their life?
Yeah, I mean, I have many, but let's just say the most recent one that I was working with, by the way, she's in New York City, and she's in New York.
New York. Okay.
And so the body started to get very inflamed. And she is a woman who eats super clean, works out. She looks amazing. But the body is starting to not respond. So that's when we're starting to notice that she has energetic, spiritual root cause. And so we enter the session, and then because of her past trauma, she went through an emotional abusive relationship, the body was still remembering, was still holding on to that pain. That was creating like inflammation, because if you don't deal with it, it's going to start coming through the physical body. And so we went through that session, and then the next morning she texted me and she's like, I woke up without pain for the first time. Like, I was able to move my hands.
That's awesome.
My fingers were not swollen. I can't thank you enough, So healing is possible. She was just willing to go deep down into removing and letting go.
Man, so let's just wrap this up. So if you've been listening, and hopefully you've been listening to this whole episode, because there's so many nuggets, but from the food, from her personal journey to the people she's worked with, you're listening, the food, her environment, people's past experiences and connection to those past experiences and how they have affected their inflammation and pain, how connected we are to energy in this world, in this universe. If this is new to you, definitely explore through it. We'll even hire Sara, but even just ask me some questions. But I've learned a lot even just through this. So, is there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap it up here? Like, of course, future projects, anything you're working on, but also just anything else you'd love to leave these viewers with on the premise of Striving 365 to help them strive.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say keep listening to this podcast, grab the book.
Oh.
And really apply information, because information without application, like they won't change your life. It won't change your life. So make sure that you apply some of the nuggets in here. And the last thing I want to say is we have an Italy retreat coming up in June. So if you...
Scott, let's go. Scott's the producer.
Yeah, that's going to be...
When's the Italy retreat?
It's going to be June 24th, 5 days. And it's going to be a culinary and spiritual retreat, because we're combining the food with the lifestyle we're doing healing. Yeah. Man,
I said I want to go to Italy, but then just the food, and then how, that in itself. Wow. This has been really great. I really learned a lot and enjoyed this, and I want to continue connecting with you. Yeah. You never know, because you taught me some things we see similarly, but you just have a different knowledge base. This has just been amazing. I really want to explore some other things too. When you started talking about the different types, the fire, the water, the earth, and I was just intrigued by that. So yeah. Anything else before we bounce here? Okay.
I think that's
awesome.
It.
Well, thank you, Sara, for being on. I really appreciate your time. And for those that have been listening to this, just remember, we are a totally free show available on all platforms. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe and comment below. And remember, you can do one thing, even that you feel this wasn't for you. There's probably somebody in your life that is too embarrassed to talk about a lot of the things that we talked about, or too shy or whatever. Share it with them. Share it with them, because it could just help, at least get them in the right direction, because there is a world of people that are hurting in a variety of ways that need information like this. And if you aren't listening to this podcast when it airs, it'll probably be in January. January 12th will be the pre-release of my next book that is coming out, so be on the lookout for that. It'll be 99 cents, so check it out. Justen Arnold here with Strive 365. Thank you for tuning in, and peace. Thank you so much, Sara. Appreciate your time. Hope you had a little bit of fun.